immune system is now operating at 10%. It should be 70%. During COVID, the microbiome changed completely. It lost diversity, so that meant lots of species got killed off. And instead, you had an overgrowth of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Up to maybe 80% of the microbiome, these bacteria, are linked to inflammation. They form biofilms and they cause inflammation. Your dog becomes malnourished without you knowing. You can give it whatever diet you like, but the dog doesn't get the nutrition because the bacteria eat it before it gets there.
What are the signs that the gut is out of balance?
Acid reflux, reverse sneezing, being uncomfortable in the gut, diarrhea, common one. Also itching, yeasty ears, but that's all relates to the immune system. If it's only running at 10%, then you have got a problem elsewhere in the body.
What is one thing that a dog owner can start doing today to help their dog's gut? Welcome to the DAFY podcast, the place where you will get expert-led and science-backed advice on dog health and nutrition. No more confusion and no more conflicting opinions. Just clear guidance to help you make informed decisions for your pup. Because when it comes to our dogs, they deserve the very best care. And we, as dog parents, deserve confidence in the choices we make for them. Let's meet an expert. Carol, welcome to the DAFY podcast. It's so great to have you on.
Yeah, thank you. It's lovely to be here. Really great. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. To give the audience a bit of context, a couple of months ago, I went to an event. I heard Carol speaking for an hour and I had to go and see her and ask her to join the DAFY podcast because I genuinely believe she has so much amazing advice to share with dog owners. So, Carol, can you give us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, well, we've been researching the microbiome since 2014 when nothing much was known about it, but I came into it through ruminant nutrition, and a big part of ruminant nutrition was actually manipulating the microbiome using natural methods, so using natural plant compounds. For me, research into the microbiome is not just knowing what's in there, it's how you fix it and what changes it. So I think it gives me a completely different perspective. It's not all about nutrition because nutrition will make a change, but there are other factors because so many bacteria are linked to health or disease that you have to actually target those bacteria as well as looking at the nutrition. So it's a very kind of complex. Plus, you have to look at the effects that the environment have on each different dog. So it's an all-encompassing, fascinating kind of area to be in, and it's great. Yeah, so that's my background.
Yeah, and I think there is so much to learn about, and it's so like you said, right? There is so much coming out all the time, and there is so many kind of variations to it. Every dog is different. What is the gut microbiome, Carol?
It's a gang of bacteria and fungi and archaea that live in the gut and ferment food to help to provide kind of secondary chemicals to help the dog, or to feed the dog, I guess. So they look after the host. So they digest the food, they ferment the food, they make chemicals that impact health, and they live alongside that dog and communicate with the dog or you or any animal, and they communicate health or disease. So they're really kind of in control. We think we are, but they're not. They are definitely in control of how you are as a person. I think the more you learn about the signalling from the gut to all the parts of the body, the more you're astonished that something you can't even see has so much kind of input into your life.
Yes, absolutely. And because it's so invisible and it's not something that you can say, okay, my dog has got an infection on the skin. You never ever think this got something to do with the gut being off. And I heard, is it true, 70% of the dog's
immune system and happiness chemicals, they all come from the gut. Yeah, it is. It's really, you're absolutely right. And I think that if you sort of look at that fact alone, it's massive, isn't it? It's a massive kind of percentage to come from the gut is massive. But I guess everything is linked to the gut. You know, we have so many sayings, don't we? I have a gut feeling, and you know, all these things that come out of the gut. So I think we understand that the gut is important. It's just that we don't really understand that community as well as we probably should.
Yes, absolutely. And when we talk about gut, in your talk that you did at the event, right, you mentioned something that really stuck with me, which is since 2020, so COVID times, basically,
Yeah.
something changed in the dog's gut bacteria and diversity. Can you just talk the audience through, like, you know, what did you start seeing in the data and why should an owner care about that?
Yeah, well, I think that during COVID, it was a shock. Obviously, that I think that's why I did the talk. The microbiome changed completely. It lost diversity, so that meant it lost lots of species got killed off, and kind of they were the old friends of the microbiome. So the pathogens, which I actually like, the bad bacteria, I do think you have to have a certain amount of because they prime the immune system. So they all got lost somewhere, and the microniches, the ones that belong to the soil, they got lost for some reason. None of this we knew why it had happened, and instead you had an overgrowth of antibiotic resistant bacteria up to maybe 80% of the microbiome. So our analysis looks at lots of different communities. It looks at relationships between the bacteria. So we're looking at what's linked to health, what makes short chain fatty acids, what contributes to the diet. And all we were seeing was a big black hole. Nothing was in there apart from antibiotic resistant bacteria that are linked to inflammation and that live in the mucous membranes, and in humans are attached to the respiratory system, which then links it to COVID. So what we were seeing in the dog was probably something relating to COVID, but the dog didn't have COVID, if that makes sense, because not all bacteria cause the same disease in different animals. It changes.
Yeah, that's so interesting. What is an antibiotic resistant bacteria?
Well, I think it's if you give a dog antibiotics, there are two different types of antibiotic resistant bacteria. The ones that cause disease, so the ones that they concentrate like MRSA, I guess, would be one of the bad ones. So you give the dog antibiotics and it doesn't kill off that bacteria. But there are also ones that live in the gut as part of the community, like Bacteroidetes. They live there. It's their job to live there. They've got a community there. And if you give that dog antibiotics, it wipes out everything in the gut apart from the Bacteroidetes. So they are antibiotic resistant. They don't get wiped out. But you give them an advantage and then they take over because they are bacteria, and bacteria have their own set of rules. And one of the rules is that they take over the microbiome if you give them the opportunity, which is why the old friends, the old pathogens, the ones that prime the immune system are so important, because they stop the takeover bid from the Bacteroidetes. But if you wipe them out, then you haven't got anything stopping the takeover bid of the Bacteroidetes. And they form then biofilms and they cause inflammation. Plus they rob the host of nutrients. Yeah. So your dog becomes malnourished without you knowing. You can give it whatever diet you like, but if you've got a takeover bid going on in the gut, the dog doesn't get the nutrition because the bacteria eat it before it gets there.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You just assume I'm feeding my dog the best possible diet I can feed him. And then ultimately, I don't know what's happening in his body, right? No. I'm not running blood tests every single week. You just assume I'm giving them the best.
Yeah.
They will live a happy, healthy, long life. But inside of them, if this is happening, that might not be the case.
No. And we haven't actually been here before. We've never been at this place before, so we don't know where it's going to go. And I think because you've lost the pathogens, you've lost that kind of control system that force the immune system to kind of get primed. Because you've lost that scenario, the immune system is now operating at 10%. So it should be 70 from the gut. It should be 70%, and it's now 10%. And I'm not sure how you actually go back to where you were. Now the idea is in microbiology that other bacteria should take over. So there may be heroes that come out of where we're at. Some bacteria will kind of step up and go, well, yes, I'll take over that job, but we're not at that place yet. So at the moment we've got a depleted immune system and a heap of bacteria that are antibiotic resistant acting as biofilms and living in the mucous membranes and robbing the host of nutrients.
And from a dog owner perspective, like, oh, you see, because you're seeing this data, like you're
Yes,
testing hundreds, probably thousands of dogs, right?
thousands. Yeah,
Yes, all the time, right?
yeah.
I mean, the thing that really gets me right all the time is, and that's what I was thinking whilst you were talking, by the way, on the talk is, like, I have been going to the vet with my dog for the last 5 years. Not even once a vet told me, go and check his gut microbiome. Not even
No.
once. And we know, right? 70, like we know the numbers, we know the data, we know how important it is.
Yeah.
And I think from an owner perspective, unless you're very educated around it, you don't know. You see your dog being healthy, okay, young, healthy pup. You don't think about going and get a gut microbiome test and check what's going on inside. And the vet doesn't suggest to do that either. So what is your thought on that?
I think we live in strange times for sure. I think in the beginning, when we started in 2018, we actually linked up with Hills Nutrition, when we knew nothing at that time, and we were working with a clinical nutritionist who was great, and he worked for Hills, and he said, right, you need to join up with Hills so you're all singing off the same hymn sheet. And I thought, well, that's fair enough. Hills are massive, and at that time, I think it was 2018, they were really into the microbiome, so they were doing proper research and running proper kind of events for vets, and vets were really into it. So they were really for this kind of process because the researchers were linking the microbiome to disease. So that was where we started. So that had an exciting future. So as we went along, and COVID came, and suddenly the research stopped. So you had no research attached to dogs for a period of time. And at that time we kept going. So we were just getting in the data and slowly moving away. We weren't singing off the same hymn sheet anymore because we got all our own data. And when we were profiling the dogs to disease, not to nutrition. So we were following what the vets wanted at the time. So we've just kind of progressed. In the meantime, during COVID, God, it all goes back to COVID, doesn't it? There was an explosion of people doing lab work. So genetic sequencing became very trendy. I think at a firm called Nanopore Technology in Oxford, who are fantastic, by the way. I mean, I think they're just brilliant. But their method of doing stuff is different to ours. We took 2 years to develop a kit that would replicate results, because the point was, if you couldn't be accurate, what was the point? So during COVID, a lot of technology were just given the go ahead. It didn't matter what results you produced, just get on with it. So you've had an explosion of people that are not that bothered what they produce as long as they're producing something. So we found that we can't use another lab apart from the lab we use and the kit we use, because we can't replicate results. So the vets have picked up on this fact that they're getting all these different types of results and that it's notoriously inaccurate, which I have to agree it is. Because of what's happened. So it's a bit like the Wild West. Everyone's gone out and gone, let's do sequencing, let's do this, let's do that. But you're not getting accurate results. And I think that's why the vets are not promoting. I did do a talk at a vet conference, and there were lots of questions around replication and how you could make the results accurate, which you can, but we've been at it since 2014, and the latest people have been at it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's going to go through a hard time. I think the vets are going to people want the information, vets want the information, but while it's being done the way it is, I think the person that goes to their vet won't get that information. Yes, go and have a microbiome test, because vets are not really yet clear that it's accurate enough.
Yes, absolutely. That makes perfect sense, actually. And you see it all the time, right? You want to try a natural supplement, the vet will push back on you unless there are some actual studies that has worked on loads and loads of dogs and things like that. They're very against, and at the end of the day, they are wonderful humans, and they're just trying to protect themselves something going wrong if they don't have any research backing it up, although some of the things are very like being studied on humans for many years, but the reality is it's their job to protect the dogs, not humans. And so I get it in a way.
Let's focus on a disease. So you have to give them a disease. Okay, so it's diarrhea, whatever, an infection in the gut. The microbiome isn't like that. It's got so many different facets to it and so many things that can go wrong. You've got to be able to look at everything because the information and the data you're getting is massive. I mean, it is just phenomenal data. So you have to be able to pick your way through that. And I think that's just too quick and too complex for vets. And I kind of get it. I think it suits nutritionists better.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And so let's say I'm an owner and I'm really like keen to make sure that my dog's kind of like gut microbiome, is not out of balance. Or let's say I'm a dog owner, I just want to help my dog. I don't know what's going on in his gut. Or maybe I have a problem and I think it's the gut, right? What is the first step? Like what can I do to go and check that what's going on in his gut?
Well, I guess you would have to have our test, wouldn't you, really? Because our test is the only one that shows you what's going on in the gut. And from that, we produce a report, 30-page report, looking at important different types of bacteria. And then we do a summary based on the dysbiosis. We've got a dysbiosis index score, so they can see how inflamed the gut is, how many species they have, and what the biodiversity score is. Those three things are probably just as important on their own without the other kind of 27 pages of information. But the vet summary actually pinpoints the main dysbiosis, the main set of relationships that have gone wrong in the gut. And then you get how to put it right, hopefully.
Yes. And if I step back a little bit, what are the signs that the gut is out of balance? It's like, I'm a dog owner, my dog seems healthy. Oh, it might have a little bit of diarrhea, vomiting every here and then. But what are the signs that an owner should look out for that give you like a little alarm to say, okay, it's time to do a gut microbiome test?
Well, I think most people come to us a lot with acid reflux. That's really common at the moment. I would say that's probably the biggest thing. I think do they call it reverse sneezing? I get given all these symptoms. I can't say the symptoms are as knowledgeable on the symptoms. Obviously, I'm a gut microbiologist, so definitely the reverse sneezing, yawning, stretching, sort of being uncomfortable in the gut. Lots of different visual signs for that. Diarrhea, common one. But also itching is really a big thing at the moment. Itching. Some dogs have red sore skin. I don't know if there's a name for that, but I get lots of hot spot. That's it. Yeasty ears. We get a lot of dogs. But that's all relates to the immune system. If it's only running at 10%, then, you have got a problem elsewhere in the body. And some of these bacteria translocate over the gut wall anyway and go and join the microbiome community on the skin. So you've got to kind of look at the whole thing as a whole, even though some live inside and some live outside. You have to kind of look at everything, really. And we also do an oral test, so you can actually look at what's going on in the mouth as well.
Well, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah. And how does that work?
It's just a saliva swab, and then we just run the whole kind of microbiome community the same as the gut one. And we have the spray natural probiotic for that, which is working really quite well. So
is that related to kind of dental disease?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so it's to prevent dental disease. And I suppose the thing is, if you've had a test at the beginning, say you have a test, then you go 6 months, at least you can see if your treatments are working, because the mouth microbiome is actually more pathogenic than the gut at the moment. There's far more going on in the mouth than the gut.
Yes, and also everything that goes into the mouth as well will impact internal organs of a dog, right? And we see all the time with dogs that have gum disease, how that can impact the liver function, kidney function, and things like that. So no one think about that very often. That's so interesting. So you've done a gut microbiome test, you got your results. I think one thing I always struggle with, and I used a company a couple of years ago to do a microbiome test. It wasn't you guys, but one thing I struggle is I got the results back, and it was, and I hear that from owners as well. They do microbiome tests. The results are very confusing because there are so many informations, right? Unless you've studied biology and you really understand it, from a dog owner perspective, you're like, okay, great. Like I had an owner coming to me saying, oh, they just recommended me some probiotics or prebiotics and things like that, but I didn't really have really good answer. What is an owner like expect to see? Well, what can they expect
Well,
to see when they get a result back?
we do the complicated stuff. We're just debating whether to take that out and just relate it totally to diet. So part of the report will just relate to diet, so people could go off and try the diet. That's quite a brave step, because I don't think the diet is everything that controls the microbiome. I think it's more complicated, but we are going to move to that because I think it needs doing. But at the moment, the main thing is we do a vet summary. So on that, as long as you follow the instructions, which is the main dysbiosis, so as long as you can follow the instructions on that page, which are quite well set out, well, really clear, that's it. Off you go to do whatever you need to do.
Yeah. And you talked about, the fact that diet is not just the only thing. Tell us, what are the other things that will impact gut health? Like basically, what are all the things that we should be looking at when we're thinking about gut health for the dog?
Well, we used to see, I know I've got to say the COVID word again, we used to see infections. All the ones the vets knew were infectious, and they would cause gastric problems that were like an infection. So the dog would be really ill. We've lost all those. So you've moved now to bacteria that just cause kind of chronic problems, chronic health problems, chronic, not diarrhea. Sometimes we get diarrhea, but more immune related problems. So we've changed what we've got, and the diet now, you're actually feeding the bacteria that are biofilm bacteria. So the diet will feed the biofilm bacteria if you're not careful. That's why it's quite hard to link the diet to a good microbiome at the moment. We have lots of people that come and say, I've done this, I've tried that, my dog is sensitive to this, and this. And it's not actually the food, it's what you've got in the gut that is robbing the dog of the nutrients, and is changing the diet, it's changing what you're feeding the dog into some chemicals that don't suit the dog. You've just got the wrong bacteria digesting the food. I think that's the easiest way to put it.
It just makes perfect sense. And then we were talking about as well what is outside in our environment. And
Yes,
things like that.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I think since COVID, the immune system has dropped in a lot of people. I don't know why. I can't really sort of go the whole way as to why, but I think it has. What people eat is actually not great. The water that they drink isn't great. So what they get in their gut, they pass to their dog. So you're sharing that microbiome with each other. Chemicals that are used affect, like wormers, vaccines, they all impact the gut and prevent the gut from forming the right sort of relationships that will protect the host. And I think that's where we're at. Take a bone. If you give a dog a bone, a lot of people say you can't give a dog a bone. And I understand that, because the bacteria that used to digest the bone are no longer there. So you've already sort of removed something. My dogs will go out, dig a bone up, bury a bone, dig it back up and eat it. And they've got the gut bacteria to digest it. But if you haven't, the bone will make them sick.
Absolutely. Because they have such an acidic stomach, and they were used to break that down really effectively before. Because their microbiome is out of balance, they can't no longer do that. So you'll expect, I feed my dog raw food, raw meaty bones once a week, twice a week. And then you see your dog being sick or not digesting it properly. That all links back to, well, they can't digest it now.
And I think going in the garden and burying stuff and digging it up, the bacteria in the soil are the ones that digest bone. So they're topping up on what they need to digest bone if they've got access to soil. Well, I don't know. How many dogs do you see burying bones?
People get so worried about, my dog is eating grass on a walk, they can't touch a stick. And I think the concern comes from the fact that, okay, we don't know how this, like for example, cow poo, right? We live in England, and some people say, well, actually, what if that cow is being given antibiotics and things that would not be in their poo? But what are your thoughts about that?
I do too. I do let mine, but we've got farmers that are quite organic around us, so that's great. And we have our own land and our own horses, so we never were, and we don't use chemicals at all. So they're quite safe doing what they need to do here. And it's really interesting to watch what they do eat. And dogs have this incredible, strong gut-brain axis. They know that they need to find stuff to make them better. It's very strong in a dog. If you see the strays that come in, like from Romania, if you're the street dogs, their immune systems are so strong, and the gut-brain axis is so strong because they've had to go out and forage. And I think that's something dogs have definitely lost. So I would say, yeah, please go forage with your dog. Yes, it's a shame you've got to be careful that the cattle may have had antibiotics. So pick your places. Don't go to a farm that factory farms. Stay away from that kind of area. But otherwise, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that we just keep them in the house all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are we making them weaker because of that? Because that's not what
Yes.
they were raised to do. That,
No.
dogs were meant to just, it's all about go looking, sniffing,
Yes.
eating, tasting. Reality of it is we're not letting them be dogs.
No, no. I mean, I don't even mind. We've got a compost heap, and the dogs, the terriers, I've got 2 terriers, and they'll go and dig out fermented food from the compost heap. And that's fine by me. I mean, it's a messy thing. So, we have to put it all back, but it's all part of something they need to do to stay healthy. And I love it. I think it's great. If we're in the garden digging, they come as well, and they dig the soil because there's something they want. There's so much in it. The environment is very rich, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a much better mental stimulation game than you process treats that you
Yeah.
put in a sniffing game, letting them sniff in the carpet in the house for like half an hour, right? Like when you look at the benefit that they will get between the two. I
Yeah.
completely agree with you. That's so fascinating. I know we live in a toxic environment, but
Yeah.
still there are ways we can kind of like you said, an organic farm. Okay, let's just go and have a little adventure for a day, an amazing organic farm, buy lots of fruit and
Yeah.
vegetable, and just let them be dogs for the day.
But even
Yeah.
even hedgerows, we've got because the council don't cut the hedgerows anymore. I think they've run out of money. I don't know why. So if you're walking down the road and you've got a hedgerow, what a great place to go, and find stuff they need, and they will. They really do. Well, obviously a dog, they love it, don't they? Exploring and
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. That's so interesting. And let's quickly talk about. So we've done a microbiome test, right? And now
yeah,
I want to work on. Let's assume he came back with some advice. I want to restore my dog's microbiome. I know it's
yeah.
not as simple as just every dog is different. We know all of that. But what are the kind of things that you were kind of walk owners through in terms of things to do? I heard the fecal matter transplant is one that
Yeah.
is going to be a big one. So can we start actually with that? So is that a solution, fecal matter transplant?
Yeah, it is, as long as you get the right donor. I think because I know what's in the gut, we have found one good donor out of 2,000 dogs. That's how hard it is to find a donor that will pass on the right information to the recipient, because you've got to pass on resilience and stability and diversity. And there just aren't that many dogs with that in their gut. Just having any donor, I would say it used to be, let's go back before COVID, sorry to say that word again, but you would have got pathogens from other dogs that you could put into a recipient dog, and that would have primed the immune system, in small doses. So that would have been better, but you just lack the dogs now. So getting the right donor is really important. We're lucky now, I think we've got 6 donors.
Wow, only 6.
Yeah, it's taken us a long while to get to that point. So is it a magic bullet, the silver bullet, is it? No, I don't think it is, unless you get the right donor. And that's, we will grow our data. We also, we mark them. So we give them a percentage for resilience and their ability to pass the core microbiome on. And we only take dogs of over 85%. So they have to score an 85% before, even when we find a good one, they still have to score high to be able to pass that microbiome onto the donor, the recipient dogs.
Yeah, and you've on these 6 donors that you have, can you talk us through like a case study, like a success story that you had where a dog that was maybe a little bit poorly got better?
Yeah, I think we've had lots. I think there was one dog that was a street dog from Romania, and he had a lot of rat bacteria that he'd got from a rat gut. I don't know how he'd got it, but they'd colonized the gut, and the dog was having lots and lots of different health problems because the immune system was very low. We did do the microbiome transfer. It took, I think it was 6 months before we actually not only kicked out the rat related bacteria, but actually then seeded a new microbiome, because once you've kicked a gang out, you've got to be able to repopulate with good. It doesn't necessarily work that you're going to replace the bad with good. You've got to be careful with it and do it slowly, because some dogs will just find another bad bacteria and that bacteria will take up that space, especially street dogs. They are kind of prone to finding pathogens that take over for whatever reason. I think it's because they use it as a part of their immune system and we don't quite understand why, but you have to be really careful. But that dog after 6 months is really well. Got lots of stories of dogs that just had gastric discomfort. They're quite easy. If you've got a dog with diarrhea, or cats, I mean, we're all going to move on to cats. So acute chronic diarrhea, they're quite easy to fix with fecal matter transplant. It's probably what it's really good at.
What about allergies?
Yeah, allergies take a long time.
I can imagine.
Yeah, 6 to... we do get some people that come back and say, yes, it's changed very quickly. But you're talking about using the Peyer's patches, which is the communication between the gut and other parts of the body. And to replace the gut microbiome right through all the microbiomes of the body takes quite a long time. So you're talking probably about 8 months of fecal matter transplant for that.
Yeah. And did that work?
Yes, yeah, it does work. I think for me, I'm very, very critical, I think, because I think you have to be, because you have to keep improving what you're doing and you have to look at what you're doing through a critical eye. So I don't think we're ever going to be a company where you just buy a product off the shelf. We do have the product, but most of the people come and have the microbiome tested first, so we can help them understand why or why not, why it's working, why it's not working, other kind of postbiotics, symbiotics to go with it to support the transplant as they go along. So for some dogs, yes, it will be about go buy fecal matter transplant. I know there are 2 companies, I'm not mentioning the companies, but you can go buy it, and some people go, yes, it's fantastic. And I know at the conference there was a lot of thought about, yes, this is the biggest thing to come. I think it is, as long as you respect what it is and you do it right. That's my concern, is that we have to understand why we're doing it and how it works for different dogs. Otherwise, you're just not going to know, are you?
No. And you need to do that follow-up, isn't it? Like to just really make sure it has worked and is doing what it's meant to be doing. And yeah, it's really interesting. And how do you become a donor? What are the like main specific kind of things that a dog needs to become a donor?
Never have antibiotics. I suppose that's quite hard, isn't it?
So in their lifetime?
Yeah, in their
I can
lifetime.
see why it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. Preferably unvaccinated, but we have got one vaccinated dog on the programme, and that's fine because they have a good diet. Fed whole food, so not kibble fed. Yeah. They have to have a varied diet, no medication, so no long-term medication, and be healthy. I think live the environment. We do ask people a lot about their environment. So the ones that we've got on the programme, except I did find one from London, middle of London. The dog turned up and had a perfect microbiome. And and it was a French bulldog.
Wow.
From London. I still haven't quite got over it, but I don't know why he's got a perfect... And the person who owned it was his first dog. He didn't have a clue.
Wow. That's amazing, isn't it? But I guess it depends from the breeder to the choices that you've made. Even a dog that is prone to lots of health issues, is if you've made the right choices over time, that can happen. So my understanding then is then you take the donor, you take I think it's tablets as well. So it's fecal matter transplant, but also tablets now. And then it's like a course of these tablets, and then you retest it and then see the results basically on their gut, basically.
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
That's so interesting.
Easy.
Yes, I love that. I love it. It sounds easy, but I'm sure you have spent years to make this work.
Yeah, we have. And the vets love it too. It was one of the kind of really interesting parts of my talk was the fecal matter transplant, because they were doing it kind of making it up into a liquid and doing it through an enema, but it was too intrusive and the people didn't want to carry it on because it put the dog through quite a lot of trauma. So if you can freeze dry it, that's definitely the way to go.
Absolutely. I think over time it will become even easier, right? Like as you continue the research and you find ways to make it work even in an easier way, because it would be amazing, right? You go to the vet, okay, we've tested your microbiome, go and it's like a course of antibiotics, isn't it? Go give your dogs these pills for, 3 months and we'll retest it and see how, and that's again, it's like vets moving into preventative care as opposed to reactive. So yeah, it's just so fascinating to hear.
Yeah, well, I think the vet conference that I spoke at was on sustainability. So I thought that was really good. How do they offer cheaper veterinary treatment in a sustainable way?
Yes. And so that's something that is not happening at all right now, which is, I love to know, can this brought into more vet practices and things like that? Because that's what is missing right now, isn't it?
I think what I'm kind of careful of, we've only got 5 donors, so I think we need to get to 20 donors before we can then kind of go and take it into veterinary practice, because the worst thing with a new product is if you can't get enough of it, the vet will want it, because they obviously see a lot of dogs, don't they? So you've got to be able to supply. Yeah, that's the... Yeah, but it's not going to change the way we do it. The quality is the important thing.
When we chatted at the event, that came across within seconds of talking to you. The main outcome is for you guys, the dog needs to get better and we'll do whatever it takes to achieve that. It's good to find companies that really do care about the dog.
Yeah, well, I think it's just because it's trendy to use the technology. The technology is easy, isn't it? But you've still got a live dog at the end of it. So you can't separate the technology from the live dog very well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And then one question about behavioral wise, right? So one thing that is I find it quite like surprising is gut issues actually also impact behavior, because we talked about health issues, but what about behavior like anxiety and reactivity? Can out-balanced gut impact behavioral issues as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you've got, because the bacteria we were talking about that arrived during COVID and caused inflammation in human lungs, so it invaded the lung tissue from the gut and invaded the gut tissue, it links through the gut-brain axis in the dog and causes reactivity. That's one of its outcomes in the gut of a dog. Plus, because the Prevotella belongs to Bacteroidetes, when Bacteroidetes increases, the firmicutes decrease. So the firmicutes are where the immune system are, but also where the kind of hormones of contentment are. The bacteria make chemicals that are happy chemicals, and they always decrease. So if you have an overgrowth of Bacteroidetes, which we're seeing in all dogs at the moment, you have a decrease in those chemicals that make the dog content. The two go together. You can't ever have high Bacteroidetes and high firmicutes. When one goes up, the other goes down, because they make the microbiome unfavourable for the other.
Absolutely. Interesting.
So you've got two sort of double whammy. You've got the bacteria Prevotella that are linked through the gut-brain axis, and then you've got the ones that produce the happy chemicals that are reduced because you've got those that are linked through the gut-brain axis and cause anxiety.
Wow. That's so interesting. So that's, again, one thing we need to think about, because there is so much of that right now out there. And I see it firsthand every day. And you never think the gut could be linked to these issues. Everyone is like, it might just be food. It might just be the environment. But it's like, actually, like, we just always need to go back to the gut, which is such a valid point. That's amazing. And look, one final question, right? What is like one simple thing that a dog owner can do, can start doing today to help their dog's gut?
I love inulin, which is a prebiotic. It's simple sugar. It's fructooligosaccharide. If you give a tiny, maybe a quarter teaspoon a day, it will feed the good gut bacteria, perhaps a teaspoon for a very large dog. It's a really cheap, easy, good food for the gut. I would do that, because you'll protect all those bacteria that are trying to hang on and live in the microbiome and not get evicted by all these biofilm bacteria. The inulin will provide food for those, and it should kind of stabilize things a certain amount.
Yes. And have you guys actually tested that, with
Yeah.
this specific product, and it works?
Yeah. Well, it's not. We don't sell it. We do put it in our products, but inulin is so cheap. You can buy it. I think it's something like £5 for 500 grams, and you can take it yourself. I would do that, plus any kind of fermented food like kefir. But if you're giving kefir, do it separately. Let the dog choose to have it. Don't mix it in with their food, because he may not need it or want it. Dogs at some time will have enough lactobacillus or bifidobacteria, so you don't need to keep putting it in. You need to get the dog to learn that he needs it and take it, because he can search it out and do it that way.
That's interesting, because I always, Rusty always gets like a little bit of, I make my own yogurt at home, like I ferment it at home, and he always gets a little bit in the evening. But in the past, I used to just mix it with his food. So that's really interesting to hear. What other fermented kind of vegetables can you recommend people? Like for example, cabbage and things like that. Can they have all of that prepared?
Dog's favourite is cauliflower leaves, raw cauliflower leaves. Fermented, if you can get them to eat it. Mine don't, but they will eat cauliflower leaves, which is full of polyphenols. And they love it so much, they just take it out of the vegetable rack, which is really odd to me, because they're such big leaves, aren't they? But they kind of eat them like bones. So wow. I let them just do that. So inulin, kefir or yogurt, and cauliflower leaves.
That's amazing.
Three times.
Yeah, that goes to show that they will self-select things that they want, and it just shows you like how clever they are, right? Like what their body needs, they will go and find, basically.
Yes.
Carol, thank you so much. I knew I was going to, but I absolutely love talking to you today.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next episode. Thank you for watching. If you found this episode helpful, follow us on Instagram. And if you want first access to DAFY, join our waitlist now. The links are in the show notes.